and actually he decided to leave the band, and I was quite relieved, to be honest, because it was like it was very stressful with someone that was very unhappy. So he left the band, and we were stuck without a guitar player. So we thought, what are we going to do? But we happened to know Jimmy Page, who was a friend, and so we asked Jimmy Page to join the band. And Jimmy was playing lots of recordings in those days. He was a big session man in London, playing on lots of records, and he was playing on things like Petula Clark, Downtown, and Gene Pitney, and what was that other? Goldfinger, yeah, Goldfinger, of course. He played on that, and he played on lots of sessions. So he was making good money, and he didn't really want to be in the band. But he said to us, well, why don't you try my understudy, this guy called Jeff Beck. And so we got in touch with Jeff, and none of us had heard of him, you know, and he came for an audition, and he was totally different to Eric. He didn't care what he looked like, and he had sort of really long, greasy hair, and he had all oil down his clothes, you know, where he'd been working on a car or something. But he really could play it, and he played some great stuff, because it wasn't just blues. He played all sorts of sort of jazz stuff, and lots of weird sounds, sort of electronic sort of stuff, with all these sort of pedals and everything, and it was great, and we really liked it. And actually, you know, in the future, he was really a strong part of the Yardbirds sound. All that weird sort of psychedelic, they call it, it was down to him because of all the sounds he put in on the guitar. So we went on with Jeff, and we did another Graham McGorman song called Heart Full of Soul, and we played that at the beginning. You know, that one at the beginning. And we decided to do the beginning guitar riff on a sitar. We thought, oh, a sitar's a nice sound, and we were all interested in that sort of Indian music. And it was sort of going around, Indian music was quite popular, you know, with all the kids in the 60s in London. So we thought we'd use a sitar. And I came into the studio, and the sitar player and the tabla player were sitting on the floor playing, you know. So we tried the song with them playing it at the beginning, but it didn't really sound very good. It was nice, but it was a bit weak. And we thought, oh, it's going to get played on the radio. We want it to really sound good, you know, really have a bit of life to it. And Jeff said, oh, I can do that. And so he did it on his little fuzz box. And he played this riff. It played again for us, Godfrey. So Jeff, you know, created a great riff. It was one of the great rock and roll riffs, really, and the record really was another hit for us. So we'd had some hit records, and we thought, oh, you know, what we're going to do next? We really need to do something like let's go to America, be part of the British invasion, because that was the thing. And it was a great dream for all of us, you know, to come to America and play in this country where all the great westerns were made, and all the gangster movies, and all the great jazz and the great blues, particularly here in Chicago, of course. And we thought, oh yes, let's come to America. So in those days, you had to go to London, to the embassy in London. And we all had an interview with the actual US ambassador. It's not like that anymore. But I remember going into the office with the US ambassador, and he had a great map of America behind him. And he said, oh, you're going to go here and you're going to go there. And it was thousands of miles. And I thought, it was really daunting, but very exciting at the same time. So we went to America, and we went to New York, and we came down and we landed in New York, and we stayed in this hotel, like a skyscraper, and Jeff Beck and I shared this room, and Jeff was really excited looking down at all the cars going down Fifth Avenue or wherever it was, because he loved cars, so he was very excited, and we were all excited. So the next day we were due to do this TV show called Hullabaloo. So we did this show, Hullabaloo, and there was an English actor on it called David McCallum, and he was in this spy spoof thing. What was it called? The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And he was a real heartthrob, you know, in America. And he was like, to us, he was a serious English actor. And they asked him to do, on this show, they asked him to do a song and dance routine. And we thought that was really strange, you know, an English actor doing a song and dance routine. It sounded really, it was very strange to us. We thought, oh, this was part of the American culture we didn't understand. Anyway, we did the show, but the next day we were hit by reality, because we went down to do our first show. And it was in Oklahoma, and it was at this state fair in Oklahoma. And there were about 40 people there, and we thought, oh my God, we've come all this way, you know, to play to 40 people in a state fair. So we were all very disappointed. And then worse still, when we finished, Giorgio, who was our manager, of course, by then, he said to us, oh, well, I've messed up on the work permits, and you won't be able to play anywhere. You know, we can't play the tour, so we don't know what we're going to do. But he used to have all these sort of wild ideas, and he said, oh, I know what we'll do. We'll go to Hollywood, and we'll have this party, and you'll play in this party, and we'll invite all the Hollywood film stars and all the you know, rock people and journalists and everything, and we get a lot of publicity out of it. So we played in this party in Hollywood, and it became like a sort of a bit of a legend, this party. People still ask me about it, because they thought people like Marlon Brando and Bob Dylan and Steve McQueen and all these people were at the party, but I didn't see any of those people. But I did see Jim McGuinn of the Birds with his little black sunglasses, and he, you know, he was a nice guy. And so the party did us a lot of good, and people still ask me about it. And actually, the next door neighbour was Lenny Bruce, the comedian, and he complained about the noise. So the next idea of Giorgio's was to go to Disneyland. He said, we'll all go to Disneyland, and we'll get all the press down there and all the DJs or whatever, and we'll have a big PR stunt. So we all went to Disneyland, and we turned up there, and they said, oh, you can't come in. We don't let men with long hair in Disneyland. So that was another bummer. But he did come up with a good idea. He said, well, we'll go to Memphis. It was a sort of weird, sort of strange working holiday. He said, we'll go to Memphis and we'll go to Sun Studios, and we'll record Sun Studios with that very famous engineer called Sam Phillips. And Sam Phillips was famous for working with like Elvis Presley and Jerry Lee Lewis and Howlin' Wolf and lots of rock and roll people. So we were very excited. So we went to Memphis and we turned up at the Sun Studios about 6 in the evening. And Sam actually was out fishing at the time, apparently. And so we waited for him. We went in a local bar next door. And we all got a bit drunk, you know, and Sam Phillips came back like 11 o'clock at night. So we all went in the studio, and we set up, we started to play, And Keith Ralph, the singer, he was very drunk, and he was singing really badly. And Sam Phillips said, "Oh, it's a good band. It's a very good band, but you'll have to sack the singer. he can't sing." But Keith did his vocals in another studio later on, and it sounded very good. And we did this song down there, which came out really well. It's a song written by the drummer of Manfred Mann. It's called "Mr. You're a Better Man Than I."